I'm going to tell you a secret. I lied. Well, not lied. More like I led you to believe something that wasn't quite true. I might have implied something. The funny thing is, I did tell you the truth the whole time. I even left a giant hint sitting in plain sight. If you look at the playlist description for this series, it actually says, spoiler alert, there is no lake house, just organized dirt. So technically, I did not lie. The description has always had the spoiler, but what I did do was lead you on. If you just watch the video straight through, it looks like this neat little arc. I wanted waterfront dirt. I went on an obsessive quest. I finally found the perfect property. And now we're going to have a manufactured home or a tiny home or a cabin or a destination RV. And then we hold hands and walk off into the sunset happily ever after. Roll credits, the end. Let me tell you, that is not what happened. Welcome to Sarah's Side Quest. Like and subscribe. Congratulations, you have made it to part 5, the end of the quest for Waterfront Dirt. If you've made it this far, make sure you subscribe because I think you're in it for the long haul. Check out the other 4 parts to catch up if you need to, but the summary is basically I wanted a chill waterfront escape, and instead I got a crash course in land law, utilities, and how many ways people can say it's fine when it is absolutely not fine. In fact, this whole thing has left me feeling defeated and frustrated. So, 4 episodes, dozens of spreadsheets, and way too many red flags later, it is finally time to tell you what actually happened with my waterfront dream. The quest was originally to purchase waterfront dirt. And if you want to get all Wizard of Oz about it, we completed it at the beginning of the story. It took about 7 months, and I covered it in part 1. We researched everything to death, found a lot that was a good balance of value and money, and closed at the end of February 2025. There's no place like home, right? It was there all along. And since I'm coming clean about everything, it took me way too far into writing this series to come to that realization. Yet here we are. Where we failed miserably was the side quests, and you can almost feel the irony. I also feel like I lied to you because I led you to believe that there's a happy or a fairy tale ending, despite me being completely honest about all the shenanigans. Like I said before, we closed on it at the end of February 2025 after about 7 months of searching. That part, that's the easy part of the story. The hard part is everything that happened after that. Because here's the thing, no one really tells you when they say that they bought land. Buying land is not the same thing as being able to use the land. When we closed, I had this montage in my head. I pictured us spending weekends out there immediately, parking a camper, running some temporary power, maybe not full time living yet and roughing it more than a little, but at least having our own little slice of lake life to escape to. Instead, a year later, what we have is land that, even after site prep, still has no electricity, no water, no septic, no dock, no house, not even a place to go to the bathroom. We actually haven't even taken the RV down there yet. Not even once. I feel like it's a massive fail. Maybe I should stop here, edit it down, call it a short, and everyone can go about their day. But I don't think that's really what you're here for. You're either here to watch me fail spectacularly or you're here for the story. And I'm fine with either, honestly. So, where were we? Oh, yeah. We were going to build the custom tiny home with Tom, and everything fell apart again. So, what did I do? Did I slow down, reassess, build a phase plan to tackle utilities one at a time? Absolutely not. That would not be on brand. And that's how I rage purchased an RV. But first, a side quest. You know you love it. The story behind the travel trailer actually starts with something completely practical. While all the other stuff was going on, Jay and I had been discussing how unhappy we were with our lodging options when we went down to visit his parents. It had gotten to where staying at their house wasn't ideal, and we'd stayed at hotels the last few times. The hotels weren't working out too great either because the closest ones were 30 minutes away. Add to that, the one hotel that would fit all 5 of us most likely had bed bugs. And the other place would only allow 4 people per room, so we had to get 2 rooms. and that gets expensive fast. Jay had jokingly said while we were touring an RV lot earlier in the year that we should just get a small travel trailer just for the trips to visit his parents. Okay, back to the story. That had gotten stuck in the corners of my brain. And now that nothing was going the way I wanted it to go, it snapped right back into focus. Why not do that? If we got a smaller travel trailer that was in a certain price range, the monthly payment would be far less than what we were paying in hotel rooms about every 6 or so weeks. A lot, actually. Since we had done so much research and so many walkthroughs in the spring, we had a pretty good idea about which brands we preferred and what to look for as far as our quality standards. The only thing we'd have to be careful about was that we would be towing with the expedition, so we really needed to watch our weights. We could deal with that. Yes, that's a significant amount of money, but it was a fraction of what we had been looking at as far as the destination RVs. Since there wasn't nearly as much money at stake, the pressure to make the perfect decision wasn't quite so crushing. And if I'm being completely honest, I was very mad and very frustrated. And my autistic leaning, measured response brain had completely taken a back seat to my ADHD, impulsive gremlin brain. Apparently, my brain does not handle win on paper, lose in reality very well. Somehow, I managed to convince Jay that this was exactly what we needed to do. So we moseyed over to one of our local RV lots where we liked the salespeople the following Friday. We go in having done zero research into this type of rig. Internally, I have admitted defeat. I surrender to the circumstances and my lack of impulse control and buy a travel trailer that has almost nothing in common with the hundreds of other RVs that I researched and analyzed earlier in the year. We bought our Grand Design Transcend Explorer 24 BHX by the end of the weekend, and we picked it up 4 days later. We usually travel several times a year. None of our family lives near us. We usually have at least one big trip and then several smaller trips around Florida when we go down to visit my parents and my in laws. 2025 had been very different. Since we were trying to save every last penny, we'd only taken a few trips to my in laws, and one of those, my dad drove up to see us for a couple days. The kids weren't exactly thrilled about this, but they understood the reasons why we weren't going anywhere on school breaks. But I had been going through a huge bout of guilt regarding the kids. Jay and I had been gone nearly every single weekend from February through July, with a few exceptions, just trying to get things settled on the property or a dwelling put on it. They knew the end goal, but this wasn't necessarily their dream, and I think the strain was getting to all of us. Sometimes the kids would come with us just to spend time together, but largely they were bored and wanted nothing to do with it. The new school year was rapidly approaching. We had this new travel trailer, and I had had enough. We were going on a road trip, essentially inserting a travel side quest into my be able to use the lake property side quest. So, side quest inception. I liked this side quest so much I put a side quest in your side quest. I sat down the next morning and didn't stop until dark. Holy hyper focused Batman. By the end of the day, I had planned a 10-day, 3-stop RV trip that checked all of the necessary boxes, and we would leave in a week and get back just before open houses started the last few days of July. Yes, school starts very early here. We would do a few days at a small RV resort near my in laws. We would do just under a week at St. George Island off the coast of Florida, and then end the trip at a place on the same lake that the property was on. One of my big complaints was that I can't access the water on our property without a dock. So I thought it was absolutely ridiculous that we had done all the searching and even brought property on the lake, but had never even been in that water. So those 2 nights on the tail end of our vacation would certainly fix that problem. In short, the trip was wonderful. I think it's exactly what we all needed and at just the right time. Surprisingly, we were all also completely hooked on this RVing thing. I know I've mentioned it before, but we had purchased the travel trailer simply as a tool, a means to an end. It would allow us to not have to sleep in hotels, and I'd have a bathroom at the lake property. Well, we haven't exactly used it as we'd intended, but I think we're all the more happier for it. We took a trip every single month for the remainder of 2025. In August, my youngest, A, begged us to take another trip for his upcoming birthday. We managed to do a weekend trip for him since school was already in session. I think that the Great Escapes in Leesburg, Alabama is hands down our favorite RV park that we've been to yet. The kids are still talking about it and asking to go back. September. We spent Labor Day weekend at our first KOA holiday location over on Wheeler Lake. I got to paddleboard, and the older boys got to do a ropes course. A got to do crafts. October. We booked a 9-night trip to Florida with 3 stops. We were able to see Jay's parents and both of my parents, especially my mom, who I had not seen in over a year at that point. I had snagged a last minute spot at the Rainbow Springs campground. So I got to do a bucket list paddleboarding run down the springs, and our middle kid, W, whose birthday occurred during that trip, got to go to Splash RV Water Park to celebrate. November. Despite our better judgment and taking a huge risk with the weather, we spent our Thanksgiving break at a nearby state park because W wanted to go fishing. We did a lot of fishing and caught nothing, but that's fishing for you. It ended up being fairly cold and windy, but I think everybody had a great time. December. This was our big trip to the Keys. We spent 16 nights over 4, technically 5 stops, but it was amazing. We're all trying to come up with excuses to go back. If you haven't already watched it, head over to my video where I give you all the details about that trip. January. This was the only month we haven't gone anywhere. This is for 2 reasons. If you're not already aware, it has been abnormally cold in the southeastern United States the past 45 days or so. None of us are eager to leave the house, let alone go hang out in a small box that isn't exactly insulated for those kind of temperatures. The other reason is because we're fairly certain that the RV is stuck in our backyard until the ground dries out. In fairness, it has been very wet this year. We may finally end up taking the travel trailer to the lake lot sometime this month. I mentioned it briefly, but we've never actually taken it there, despite that being one of the reasons we got it. The current plan with the land was to get a physical address so we could get utilities and get them established, to get our land guy out there to fix what the storms and the water had broke, and to have a way to get in and out of the water. That way, we could have what would essentially be our own little private RV resort. I did manage to get an address established, which was the most small town bureaucracy thing ever. But the short version is that we do have an official 911 address, but no one besides the emergency services will recognize it, including Google, so you can't map it. The land guy did come out and fix the damage to the pad and driveway and put new, finer gravel down on the driveway so we could at least use it. That was great. I actually got to drive my little sedan down it for the first time in the fall, and I didn't get stuck. It's the small victories, really. The rest of it has just been like everything else involving this property, messy. Here's a quick summary. I got stood up by the Alabama power guy who was supposed to meet me there for a quote. He said he felt really bad about it and would come back without me having to meet him there. We've texted back and forth a few times, but it's been 3 months and nothing has happened. Septic installation companies won't actually do the plans or the permits to install a septic tank. After a frustrating amount of work, time, and coordination, I now have the plans and the permits. By the way, you know you're officially old when you get really excited when a septic permit arrives in the mail. Now we're having trouble getting anyone to come quote the actual installation. We've decided to wait to contact the water department until the power and the septic are done because you know that something will go wrong somewhere in there and cause a massive water leak or something. And that's just something I cannot comprehend dealing with right now. The lake levels are controlled by the local power company. Yes, the same ones who can't or won't come put power on the property. So the distance from the shore to the water can vary around 25 feet. Surprisingly, the guy who's in charge of the water access permits was very helpful. He gave me the information I needed to know before getting quotes. I contacted several companies to come quote me a way to access the water, and only one even got back with me. Basically, all I need is a swim platform or a kayak launch and a gangway from the shore to the platform on the water. The man who came out and quoted was super nice, and I liked him a lot. However, I did not like his quote totaling $40,000. So I do not currently have a way to access the water either. That's why we haven't taken the travel trailer down. We'd have to completely be off grid or boondock, as it's called, and our RV really isn't set up for that. We did go down to the lake this past weekend so that Jay and I could do a little cleaning up and some logistics, and so that S and his friend could ride the four-wheeler that we had borrowed from Jay's dad. Now that we have a better sense of things, we've decided we just need to bite the bullet. Take the RV down for a weekend and just make do. That way, we can get some more cleaning up done before it's warm enough for the poisonous and bitey forest friends to be about. I would really like to make progress and get the utilities done before it gets warm out, but I am not holding my breath. Now that we fully recovered from the 16-night winter break trip, we're also beginning to realize that we may need to at least entertain the idea of a bigger RV at some point soon. Don't get me wrong, we bought exactly what we needed at the time and within the parameters we defined. but A has grown half an inch in 3 months, and sleeping in his 22-inch wide storage space bunk won't work much longer, much to his irritation. Not to mention that while all the other stuff has been going on, Jay changed vehicles, and now we have a lot more flexibility as far as towing. We haven't decided anything concrete, but I'll let you know if anything comes of it. The local RV show at the end of January not going great has not helped me make any decisions, that's for sure. So that's it. That's the end of the quest for Waterfront Dirt. It's really anticlimactic, but if you want to frame it like a movie, we had it all along. We went the long way round just to end up back at the beginning. I know this is silly, but if I don't think of it this way, it might end me. Let me have my delusions. And while it might be the end of this series, it's definitely not the end of the story, as I'm sure you can tell. The original dream might happen one day, or maybe we did have it all along. Maybe it just looks different than I thought it would. And now that you know the rest of the story so far, we can move into whatever this next chapter is together. If you've stuck with the whole saga, tell me in the comments. Would you have doubled down harder on making the land work, no matter how long it took or how much it cost? Or would you have also accidentally ended up with a travel trailer and a whole new set of side quests? Either way, if you want to see how badly I continue to underestimate things, or watch us figure out whether we're land people, RV people, or some chaotic mix of both, stick around. Because the quest for Waterfront Dirt isn't over. It just unlocked a whole new set of side quests. Until next time,